Hi there. So today I wanted to show you this new book that we checked out from our library called Women in Sports, 50 Fearless Athletes Who Played to Win. I just think this book is terrific, and so I wanted to share it with you all. So let's take a look. This book has some really unique illustrations. It's got a great table of contents here, and you can see that there's a couple of special sections here. So there's a women's timeline we'll look at, and then it gives each of the names and the years, and there's a few different areas where it will break and do, muscle anatomy, talks about pay and media statistics. There's a section here that's also to do with the best sports teams of women, and then kind of an honorable mention of more women in sports. So what I think is really interesting about this book, there's a lovely introduction here, just kind of talks all about the premise of the book, and then it gets right into this timeline that we talked about earlier. So this is really terrific. It just shows from the start of the first Olympic Games when women were not allowed to compete, and going through time and the changes that were made to allow women to compete in sports and kind of where we're at now. So I did this with my 5-year-old, and we thought it was just incredibly interesting to see where women made big breakthroughs in sports history. So this is an example of a typical page. So you can see that we've got the name and the sport, and then there's just a brief history of the athlete's life and kind of their sports legacy. And then we have these really interesting sections here that just give little tidbits. Oh, she competed in her first world championship in a full-length skirt. Just kind of interesting bits and pieces about her life. One of the things I think is really cool about this book is it doesn't only talk about their achievements in their sport, but also in this case, off the ice or off the field, and the things that they did for the rest of their lives. If they did charitable work or had other impacts on society, they talk about that. And they have these really interesting pictures. You can see here, this is one of the pictures, and I'll flip and show you a couple more. They all have this kind of interesting style, which is just, it's fun and engaging, which I think is really neat. This is on about a skydiver. And this is track and field, ice hockey, tennis, and softball player. This was a very accomplished lady. So just some really neat art. And then again, all these great facts about the athlete. One of the things that I think is so cool about this book, I think there may be only 2 sports that are actually repeated. There is such a wide variety of sports. I love sharing this with my daughter and showing her all the different things you could do. They included things that I wouldn't have normally thought of when I list sports. So you can see this is judo and bowling, of course, baseball, tennis, the roller derby, cycling. So I love that there's not a bunch of repetition. It's not all the same sports. It really shows just the breadth. This is a mountaineer. The breadth of sports that are available to everyone, and women in particular. So this is one of the special sections in the book. It talks all about the different anatomy. We don't really think of women typically as being the strong members of society, and I love that this just showcases strong women and gives some information about anatomy. I think that's really terrific for our daughters to read about. It even does include some coaches, which I thought was a cool add to the book. And you can see skateboarders and rowing. So just a lot of great information, dog sledding, and weightlifting and bodybuilding. So to get to another one of the special sections, here's a pay and media statistics, which obviously my 5-year-old was a little too young to understand, but I thought was really interesting about the difference in media coverage for men and women, and the pay gap in different sports between men and women. So it was a bit over her head, but I was interested to see just how different it is between men and women. So that's one of the special sections that they have here. And then continuing more sports, they do have some special athletes. And then at the very end, this is an influential sports team section. So this is about some specific girls teams and the great things that they did as a whole team. So like they cover the entire 2015 U.S. national soccer team, for example. So that was really cool. There's para triathletes. So they picked people from all different countries and walks of life and abilities, which I just thought was really terrific. And at the end here, we have kind of an honorable mention section with some more women that you could definitely look up if you wanted to learn more about them, and just some simple facts about their main contribution. This is about Carrie Strug and obviously her landing on her badly sprained ankle at the Olympics in '96. And so it just kind of gives like one highlight. So these are kind of the women that didn't make full page spreads, but I still thought it was interesting and could lead to further study. And then a little conclusion. So that's the whole book. I just wanted to get a chance to show this to you. I think this is a great addition to your library, and I'll be purchasing this for ours because it's really terrific to see all of the gains that women have made in sports. So I hope you enjoyed this look through.